What is good, y'all? Is your boy Deluxe, and I am so... you have no clue how irritated I am a little bit, just because I recorded this whole audio and then accidentally deleted it, and there is no file for it. So we're doing this one more time. Lovely, isn't it? So anyways, as you guys might have known already, I really don't be doing too many YouTube tutorials, right? I think a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but I think for me, I don't really see the value in tutorials, at least. Just simply because for myself, that's not how I scaled my business. I think a lot of the content I've been posting recently, that's really how I scaled my business and actually grew. It wasn't by watching a bunch of tutorials, but you know, it's really controversial because like a lot of barbers love tutorials, and at the same time too, I'm kind of speaking on a tutorial whilst bashing a tutorial. So I think it's helpful for those. There's a time and place, and there's barbers who, you know, do find value in this, and this was kind of like in the lost vault, and I was like, fuck it, let's go ahead and post this up. Let's go ahead and see what it do. But as you should know, I'm not going to do play-by-play, step-by-step. Instead, I'm going to take more of like a very podcast approach, right? I'm going to do more of a kind of free-flowing and really talk about, for me, like talking more about like the pandemic and how it's affecting the barber industry. Because from what I've been seeing and also talking to a lot of barbers, I talk to a lot of barbers in the DMs, and for me, I think the pandemic actually allowed for a big like truth bomb to be showed, because a lot of barbers right now currently they're either back to cutting hair full time for about like a month or so, or they're just reopening up. And when I talk to barbers, they just now are raising prices, right? Maybe $5 to $10, which is great. And I love price raises, right? I'm all about that. That's what elevated mentorship is all about too, by the way, is, you know, really raising your level of play, but not for just a tip. $5, $10 is really a tip. And also too, for a lot of barbers that I'm talking to, they haven't really raised prices for like, you know, in terms of maybe a year or two, maybe even in some cases 3 years. And the most they're raising prices is like $5. And I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm all for growth. I'm all for barbers, you know, growing on top of that. But I think the main thing is I see a lot of, and for me, you know, being retired from the industry, I haven't cut hair in a year. You know, this is an old video. But being able to see like kind of all this madness go on, you know, I'm running Elevated Mentorship, my educational company, the barber industry, but I don't know what's kind of going on, how barbers are actually feeling, or even how I feel being a barber, because I'm not a barber anymore. You know, cutting full time in a shop and kind of understanding the flow of things. It's been interesting to see this from like a very outside the eye of the storm type of view. And from what I'm seeing, at least, because I think a lot of people that when you're in the eye of the storm and you're in the eye, like you're actually in the industry, you're part of the chaos. Right now, I'm kind of seeing the chaos happening, and for me, I'm seeing a lot of barbers who honestly, like, yeah, you were able to raise prices up for the first time in a long time, but it's because there was an opportunity taken from a world pandemic, not because you knew how to raise prices. And I think that's where the truth is going to be shown. And I think barbers are finally understand, okay, cool, I can't be doing the same shit over and over again. But at the same time too, we can't just wait around for another world pandemic to come around just to raise prices again, just to raise our level of play. And at the same time too, it still doesn't deal with the issue that self has not been changed. Wherever you go, right? It doesn't matter if because a lot of barbers, when I talk to them, like, oh, what are you going to do for your next price raise? Oh, I'm going to move to a different city. Oh, I'm going to move around the barbershop. I'm going to go start offering this service. No matter what you're doing, you still are dealing with self. There's still a self issue that you are not able to get over in terms of like why you should be, like how to raise prices effectively, because you're saying all these outside forces are the reason why you can't do it. When in the real reason, it's always going to come down to self. And for me, it's when I stopped, my personal experience, I used to charge $16-20, and I live in Sacramento, right? Sacramento is not a place where you go and pay high prices for anything. But when I was charging $16-20, I would say the same things. Fuck, if I want to charge more, I have to move to LA. I have to go somewhere over here, because I couldn't see it happening where I was at. I was blaming the barbershop I was at. I was blaming, you know, the city I was living in, Sacramento. And I was literally blaming everything but what the real problem was, which was myself. And when I stopped becoming a victim to my own circumstances that I created, and really, for me, that allowed me to start finally like figuring out, okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? right? And for me, a lot of you followed my story. When I retired last year from cutting hair, like March 2019, I was charging $200 a haircut. And here goes the comments. People are gonna be, oh God, I don't see the value for $200. Well, good, because you're not my client. And honestly, that's the reality of it. And that's what we teach in Elevated Mentorship. How do you go ahead and go from that standpoint, that mentality, to really transforming yourself to be able to be somebody who actually charges $200, $100, $200, getting off the hamster wheel of like, nobody wants to be cutting for 12-hour days. Nobody wants to do that in the barber industry. It's become like this thing where, from what I've seen at least, is it's become who's got a bigger like dick type of thing, right? Oh, I cut 14 hours, bro. Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm like, cool, your shoulder's gonna be fucked up. Your back's gonna be fucked up. I don't want no part of that, right? And I think for me, like I'm talking to a lot of barbers, at least in the DMs, just because I like, program wise, our barbers that we work with, they're very, I want to say we breed them differently, because we really give them a different way of thinking and approaching the industry, and that's why they get results. They get a very different approach that I took while I was cutting hair to effectively raise prices really higher than anybody who else was cutting in my area. And we go ahead and implement the same operation for them, and allow them to, okay, cool, this is what you do in your city, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to implement, this is what you need to do, and they get coaching, week by week from me. But for me, I think I see a lot of barbers in terms of, like, of course, blaming their outside circumstances, but also really not knowing how to raise prices up effectively in $20 increments, right? $5, $10, all from taking advantage of a pandemic. Not gonna cut it. Like, we're just gonna wait around for another pandemic to come around before we raise prices again. It's just not effective, right? And I think when we finally see truth in that, and those barbers finally see truth in that, it might be a little bit too late. They might be a little bit too old. They might waste a lot of time. But for me, like, we work with barbers who, look, you don't want to be stuck in that hamster wheel. We understand we don't want that life. We want something better. And a lot of barbers, honestly, I talk to them, they don't know what the fuck to do, because there is no roadmap to this thing. It's literally like, for me, when I got in the industry, it's literally like, here, a lot of the quote-unquote top barbers would say, here, go grind, because that's what they had to do. And honestly, like, if it was like, I see a lot of, like, it's crazy what I see from a lot of, like, the quote-unquote OGs in the industry. It's almost a crabs in the bucket mentality, where if a younger barber is doing better than them, they want to bring them down because it wasn't the way that they had to go to get it. And it's actually easier for barbers now to go out and actually scale their business up if they have the correct system. But those other OG barbers will be like, no, you can't. That's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, dude, why are you hating? Right? Why the hell are you hating on just something that actually works better than what you thought of as truth, but honestly just doesn't fucking work. And I think what's also surprising to me is talking to barbers that, they raise prices $5-10, but they're content where they're at. Like, you're content at charging $30-35. And that's no diss to anybody, but I think it's just, for me, how I am, I'm somebody who wants to go ahead and continually get progression. And I think there's a lot of those barbers in the industry who want that too, but I think there's so many people who are comfortable where they're at, and there's such a mass people who are comfortable doing what they do, that if somebody speaks out and be like, no, I want to do something better, they're going to get shot down. And that's been my experience talking to barbers too. Like, yeah, like, I want to do better, but everybody in my shop just, they hate on me. They're like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Just do this. This is how you get money. You got to do Forex now. That's what you got to do. You got to get into our Forex team. It's like, keep the main thing the fucking main thing, right? If you want to be able to charge $100, $200 per haircut, keep the main thing the main thing. Don't be going off. Or I see a lot of barbers, they want to, even a couple of my students like, oh, I'm gonna start building a brand. I'm like, that's the last thing you want to be doing. You're finally getting some momentum going on. The last thing you want to be doing is putting your time and investing your time in building a brand for $30 a t-shirt instead of being able to charge $200 a haircut. Like, which one do you want is going to pay off for you more? And like, okay, you're right. Right? And I think for me, a lot of barbers, like, when I'm talking to them, at least there are barbers who don't, like I said before, they don't want to be staying in that same space. They don't want to be staying in that same realm of operating their business. And but they don't have an outlet because everybody else surrounding them is like, no, just do this. But that's the last thing they want to be doing. They actually see growth at, whether it be, students in my elevated mentorship program or other people in the industry growing. And like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And truthfully, yes, that's very true. Anybody could do this. Like, it doesn't matter what city you're in. But, doing what you're doing, like operating a business in, is not going to get you to that point. And grinding for sure isn't either. And I think for me, whenever we look at a barber's business, the first thing we always want to assess is, how are you going to raise prices by $20 increments? Oh, bro, you know what? They tell me, oh, bro, you know what? I'm just going to be grinding, bro. Be on my fucking grind. I'm just going to be grinding day in, day out. Grinding my teeth, grinding my head, grinding my knuckles. I'm going to grind and grate my cheese too. That's all I'm going to do is grind. I'm like, oh, God. Okay, well, good luck with your back. Good luck with your shoulder. Or they want to go ahead and talk about, oh, bro, I'm just bettering my services and bettering my haircuts. I'm like, okay, you've been doing that for the past 3 years. You got a $5 increase from that. Is that the best return on your investment right now, time-wise? Because I did the same thing. I did it for 2 years. Okay, I'm just gonna work on my services and haircut. And I probably got I actually got a $4 increase, I should say. I increased my prices from 16 to 20, a $4 price raise in a 2-year time span. So that gives you the ROI of focusing on that. It's focusing on the wrong inputs, focusing on the wrong actions. And barbers, like for me at least, when I started actually focusing on, okay, what's my operational flow? What's going on in my business? So I can actually scale things up. That needs to be take that look at that first. And really, I think the next needs to be really, when you raise prices, what's the workload on you, right? Because I think this mass idea of, well, I got to add more services to make more money and to be able to raise prices up more. That's what I got to do. Add more services. Well, at some point in time, if that was truth, like I would have been cutting hair. I would have been a fucking lawyer for my clients. I would have been a therapist. I would have been a foot massager. I would have been a child care provider. I would have been all those things, right? But instead, I only offered a haircut with beard or shear work, and haircut beard with shear work, and maybe a facial in there, right? And that was it. Nothing really too crazy at all. And I think when barbers start doing like a bunch of random things, it's like, okay, cool. I understand the idea of adding more quote unquote value. Really, you can add quote unquote more value. Keep the main thing. You don't have to go ahead and start implementing more services. That's actually putting more workload on you and actually taking yourself away from the main thing. And it's actually like when I see barbers say that, it's like, okay, cool. You think you're actually very, very insecure about your own haircuts because honestly, there's a lot more that you could be doing with it. And if you're not like focusing on that and like actually what converts a client, it actually also shows they don't know what converts a client. Straight up, if you knew what converted a client, you would be able to raise prices $20 per haircut and not add one single new service on. Because I actually started to at first for me, I also went from 20 to 25 to 30 to 35. And I was adding like new services each and every single time. And by the time I was at 35, I was like, fuck, what the fuck do I gotta do to get to 200 now? Or like to 100. I'm already throwing the kitchen sink at these fools. And for me, I was like, okay, cool. I don't need to be adding more services. Don't be doing this shit. So I started taking shit off and trying to make it more simple. Because like, okay, this is never gonna work for me. So when you keep the main thing, understand, cool. I don't need to be, I provide value in what I do, right? I'm not here to, and this is gonna sound. Some barbers gonna be like, oh, what you're not a real barber. You gotta. I didn't really talk to my clients, and I don't mean like I didn't converse with my clients. Of course I did. I had great relationships with my clients, right? But I'm not spending time being a therapist. I'm not spending time talking because guess what? I gotta do that like 8 to 10 times per day. Some barbers have to do it like 20 times per day, which is fucking wild. I'm like, yo. I remember actually having to do that 20 times per day and being fucking drained to the core. It's not fun. It's not something I want to do. And to be quite honest, I'm there to cut hair. And really, I think in my experience, my market and everything didn't really start to come together and I didn't really know what my clients wanted until I was charging $100, $150, even $80, right? until that price point, there should be like for me, I didn't know what my clients wanted, but I kept on trying to add services, thinking that I knew what they wanted. But for this whole thing, you just gotta keep things simple. Keep the main thing. Don't go outside of that. And I really think that understanding what actually converts a client is probably one of the most beneficial things. And really for us, we dive deep into this, understanding what actually converts a client. It's not all these random services. It's not doing a bunch of, and everybody wants to go ahead and be like, well, I want to cut everybody. You can cut everybody and you could be average at cutting everybody. Please be my guest. We're not going to do that. Right? Not an elevated mentorship. We're going to go ahead and take people who actually want to actually get some damn results, get some damn fucking results. And it's not from throwing a kitchen sink at everybody. It's not by doing 20 haircuts a day. And it's not by killing yourself day in and day out and really being stuck on this hamster wheel. This is actually the most backwards approach. But for some reason, it's the most widely accepted approach in the barber industry. For me, I think we're really spearheading in terms of like this new era. And this is why I call the company New Era Barbering, because we are spearheading a new era. And for us, elevated mentorship is something that's really transforming the way barbers actually approach the industry. And really, for you, if you're like, fuck, I actually want to see if I can go ahead and get into this thing, by all means, there's a link down below. It's elevatedmentorship.com/demo. Go ahead and click that link. You can actually go ahead and schedule a call with me. We'll see if you're a great fit for elevated mentorship. We can see if we can actually get you out of this stuff, because honestly, the level of mediocrity in terms of like how barbers run their business is very, it's madness. It is very, very sickening to me to see. Like it hurts me too, like, because I remember I was there, and you don't think it could go any other way, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And for me, like, I think the last thing I see that at least I've been observing and really seeing throughout this COVID experience, barbers who do actually go up, there's a lot of OGs that hate. There's a lot of OGs in the industry, like I said before, crabs in the bucket mentality, that actually get really, really mad when other younger barbers start having more success, more quicker than what they were able to do. But it's just because, look, they understand what the operation of business and the time that they're in to take advantage of that. That shouldn't mean you hold these guys back, right? It means, okay, cool, you should learn and start implementing yourself and get on top of that. But yet we still have barbers who, when and I talk to a lot of even students when I'm talking to them on these one-on-one calls, when they set up these strategy calls with me, see if they want to get into elevated mentorship, they talk about in terms of like, yo, I talk about in the barbershop all the time. Like, I want to go ahead and be able to raise prices and do what you guys are doing in elevated mentorship. And I get a lot of people that tell me, like, look, a lot of barbers in my shop actually hate on me for that. And to be quite honest, it's just like, look, time's going to be the biggest factor in this whole thing, right? If you show me like exactly like how long those guys have been cutting, what their results have been in their business, well, let's go ahead and see what we can do in the next 12 months, and with our approach, because it's gonna really just completely flip the script on terms of what they thought was possible, and really what you even thought was even possible for your business. Because like I said before, and I've said in multiple other videos, we have students who are making like $3,000 a week, which is incredible. And I think for a lot of barbers, they don't think that's even possible for them. And first thing that always comes up, it's not possible in my city. Yes, it is. Stop being a victim of that. It's possible literally anywhere. But it's like you have to allow the correct operational flow and really have somebody who's actually done the damn thing before. And also gotten proven results with other students, right? We have plenty of students who've gone through this program and gotten the results. But I think the small-mindedness, the scarcity-mindedness of the industry, it's going to be interesting to see how these things play out over the years, especially after COVID, especially with people and barbers being opportunists to the pandemic just to be able to raise prices finally, right? Because to be quite honest, nothing has really changed. Yes, they got a small increase, but a lot of these individuals, unfortunately, they're just going to go back doing the same thing over and over and over again until they switch these three things up, right? Their way that their operational flow of business, how to effectively scale prices, and also understanding what actually like happens and why clients convert. Actually understanding client conversion at the core root of it, and really that's what we do with elevated mentorship. And until those three things are really addressed, it doesn't matter what you offer, doesn't matter what you do. Honestly, it's going to be very, very difficult to go ahead and scale up. Even in my own experience, I'm not saying that just to be like, oh, it's gonna be difficult. No. Like, I tried to go ahead and throw the kitchen sink at this shit. It like adding more surfaces on actually sucks. That shit, like not being able to really master what you do. You have like, it literally looks like the kitchen appliances just on your what's it called, on your station. And you're just so overworked. You got do so many different things. You're falling behind. It's not, for me. It didn't make sense. But I think we're almost done. I know I'm straight raising them up. Kind of went by quickly, honestly. Typically I go a little bit longer, especially on podcasts. I go for like 40 minutes, so I know like I only had about 20 minutes or so. But really that was kind of like really all I wanted to address. Really, like, look, if you were somebody who or just like bringing awareness, like during a pandemic, if you were somebody who took advantage of pandemic price raises, great. Now, what are you going to do next to go ahead and raise your prices up $20? Because if you don't know, look, start with your flow of operational business. Work towards your not throwing the kitchen sink at your clientele. And then also really understand at the core what client conversion is all about. And also, we have a demo video on this, right? If you click the link, like I said, if you want to schedule a call, we also have a video in that link that really breaks down. It's like a 47-minute video. And it really breaks down exactly everything that we do in Elevated Mentorship. So I'd highly suggest and invite all of you guys to check that out. But looks like I'm styling them up. You know, I think, like I said before, I don't really post too many tutorials. Not a big fan of this. And at the same time, too, how do you people just want to go ahead and watch tutorials? If you actually found some value of like what we actually had to talk about, at least in this video, that wasn't a step-by-step, look, I post like content like this. It's just not in a tutorial form, right? It's just literally I hold up my phone and I speak for about 30 minutes. That's like really, if you go back to my content recently, that's all you'll find. So I also invite you to go ahead and check that out. But I think I'm also going to be dropping maybe a few more tutorials, and not like week by week. I don't have that many left in the vault. Like I said, I haven't cut hair in like a year. I'm just really focused on building this company out and really transforming this industry. I'm really spearheading this new era of what the barber industry is. But you know what? Stay tuned. We're going to be dropping a couple more. You're still going to keep up with weekly videos. So with that, everybody, I will see you next week on, I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. We're going to talk about some of the industry. All right, y'all. See you next week.